two massive changes are coming to the Canadian housing market. Nobody's really talking about it, and it could seriously affect housing prices, actually in this case for the better. So this is the first one. For the last few years, there's been a mortgage stress test in place. A lot of people know about this. They recently removed it when you're basically transferring over to a different lender. Like upon renewal, if you choose to use a different lender, you don't have to be stress test. If you renew with the same lender, you'd never have to be stress test. But if you're getting a new mortgage, there was a stress test, which is basically you had to get approved at, I think it was about 2% over the prevailing rate. So whatever that was, I think it was the greater of either the national bank's rate or your lender's rate. You have to get approved at 2% higher than that. That was meant to safeguard the market, make sure people were not over leveraged, make sure that banks were in a solid position. We didn't have a 2008 US type crisis. That's why that was in place. However, that might be going away. Now, it's not official, but there was talks that either end of 2025, which we've now passed, or early 2026, we could see this regulation lifted in favor of lender side regulation. So basically, instead of having the individual purchaser get stress test, they're going to impose tighter restrictions, which they already actually started doing anyway last year, on the banks themselves in relation to the loan to value of their entire portfolio. Now, effectively, that just means that buyers are going to have an easier time getting a mortgage. It's going to be easier to get approvals. You're going to get approved for more with less income, which means more buyers into the market, more buyer demand. It's exactly what we need because this housing market has been in a spiral. But there's one thing that's even bigger than that I think is going to be crazy and almost definitely going to go through. And here's what it is. So since like 2023, there's been a foreign house buyer ban, which basically was meant to cool the market. And essentially the Liberal government brought this in saying, hey, there's too many people competing for housing here from foreign markets, investing in Canadian real estate. It's making it unaffordable for Canadians. So we're going to ban that. I mean, there was loopholes, but effectively they banned foreign buyers from buying Canadian real estate. And it worked. Yeah, house pricing definitely has come down. The problem with that has been that the developers now can't get their projects done. They depended a lot on pre-sales to get their financing, and the pre-sales are coming from foreign buyers. So without the pre-sales, there is no financing, there is no building, and that's becoming a problem. So developers, builders have been lobbying the government hard, and it looks like Mark Carney is going to capitulate here. So it looks like this is set to expire January 2027, this ban. So when that expires, I think they're going to let it go. And Mark Carney has already indicated that they're probably going to let it go. And so this might expire in a year. Now, when that happens, alongside the other thing I just talked about, which is removing the stress test, you're going to have more demand from domestic